Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us again. Another Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. East Coast time for Truly Diversified. I'm doing a special session here today. I'm going to share my screen in a second on something that I get asked a lot by advisors and agents. Kind of what is the number one thing that helped me get started in selling life settlements? And I'm going to show you this one key way of doing it. And I also have a PowerPoint that you guys can use. And if you want it, you can request by, texting me, not on here because it's hard on chat, but you can email me or text me that you want a copy of a client-facing webinar on this, or it's something that you could use during a PowerPoint with your client base and prospects on this, and we'll walk you through on how that would work. Realistically, the number one way when I started in this industry, if you're not familiar, was I was mainly doing a lot of annuities 20 years ago, about $5 million a year, decent living, selling Athene, which was Aviva back in the day, some American Equity, North American, Allianz. Those were kind of the four major players that I was working with, mainly through doing dinner seminars. I did a ton of dinner seminars. It'd be 30 people a night, 3 nights in a row, and then my time would be completely busy for about 2 weeks, and then back on the road doing another dinner seminar. Boom, 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 boom. This is what I would do, and it did very well. I did very, very well doing that. But what I realized was I was building up this large book of business of clients where I had sold them a large annuity for retirement purposes, and realized that I was spending all of my money out there trying to meet new people when I had this group of people who trusted me, liked me, had a good connection with. And I didn't really have anything else to sell these people, because if I did go out there and sit down with them, in the insurance realm, there isn't a lot of product to work with other than the annuity. Sure, you could try to go deal with an IUL, but you might be dealing with, things that are a problem there, such as trying to get them qualified based on health. And a lot of people who are in their 60s and 70s who are buying annuities don't really want to buy IUL, right? It's a complicated product. Getting them again to be qualified for health reasons is tough. So that was kind of not the greatest, very time consuming product to deal with. If they signed their medicals and it was through Kaiser, oh my God, you'd sit there for 2 months waiting for it to come in. These deals would close. It would take forever. Maybe you do some long-term care, but that's also, you're there advising them on retirement planning, on how to have money in retirement. Transitioning to a long-term care thing or Medicare is just, yes, I understand if you're all in on insurance, but that's not what I was really about. So it didn't interest me. So I came across life settlements as a nice secondary thing for people to invest in, and it took off. And what I did is I went to my client base and showed them this one area of where their money was that we could move over instantly and make the argument on why they would want to do this. Okay. And like our show here, it's about being truly diversified. So I'm going to share my screen. Should see this. It's what I call how I made $100,000 in 90 days, which is actually true, by moving 10% free withdrawals. That is your key. One of the number one ways you can go have conversations with people is if you write annuities, you have a book of business. If you're writing $2 million in annuities, or if you don't really write as much anymore, but you used to write a ton, you can go to these people, and if they have a policy that's 200,000 plus, 250 plus, this is actually a place where you can pull money to possibly buy life settlements. Again, you make 15% with us, zero prospecting or cost, because you're not having to go out and find new people. This is not going to cost you anything except for some of your time to get in touch with your client base. And we're going to show you how to do that. Okay. So, as we know here, free withdrawals are the hidden gem and absolutely ignored in the segment of what we do. You don't realize, you forget it's there. Annuities have their 10% free withdrawal, and here's what it is. It's in an annuity with fairly low returns. I'm not talking about the income rider. I'm talking about the accumulated value. Most of the time, annuities are going to return about a 3 to 5% return over the lifetime of its annuity. That's standard. Okay. You might argue with me. We can sit down. You might have that one client that's making six. Most of them, I just reviewed literally 10 annuities this last week, and half of them, the client had not made any money in the last 2 years, or very little. So they're pissed. They want to get out. Okay. Long surrender periods, 10 to 15 years on these products. So this is an area where you can come to the client and say, it's time to diversify away from the annuity. Let's take 10% of that money. Let's take it and move it and go and buy something else that is going to have a decent payoff. Okay. So the solution is to diversify, use that 10% free withdrawal, show them an area where they can get potentially a higher return, a much faster potential payout, and it's pretty low risk, meaning they aren't dealing with the risk of the market or speculating in other things like oil and gas, that they're going to still be getting paid from an insurance carrier, which is what they already like. That's why they buy the annuity. So that's what you do. Okay. So let's look at an example. A $300,000 annuity, the client right now could get a $30,000 free withdrawal right now. Okay. They can use that money to purchase a life settlement, right? They go ahead and they purchase a $30,000 policy. They're getting a $100,000 payout. I just helped sell a policy that looks just like this the other day. 78-year-old male on this, I'm sorry, 79-year-old male with a 3-year life expectancy. We were able to get somebody for $32,000. They could buy the policy for 100K, okay, by using a free withdrawal. It's that simple, okay? So let's take a look here. Annuities versus life settlement comparison. The annuity, that $30,000, it stays where it is. On a 10-year timeline at a 4% APR, they're going to return $44,500 on that money that they left there. If they move it over to a life settlement, that $30,000 most likely is going to return money in about 5 years, making $100,000 at a 22% APR. That is the difference right there. Now, if you see here, I put this, the APRs on this obviously are estimated. We're just showing you a way this is. Life expectancies are not guaranteed. The person could live longer, which will reduce the APR, but you got to see, look how long they would have to reduce the APR to get down to 4%. And the client will have to pay the premiums as you go along. But that 22% that I showed you here is including the cost of the premiums. That's just not the 30,000, but their cost of premiums over that 5 years is included. They still make 22% APR. And here's the thing. This person could die early and they could make a higher APR. It happens about 20, 25% of the time. Probably most likely 60 to 70% of the time, this person would die in 5 years. And then you're going to have some stragglers that go on maybe 8 years. You're still looking at an APR probably of double digits in this situation. And that timeline's still shorter than what the annuity is. So when you work this out, it's just higher returns, faster payouts, right? With the same money that they have now sitting in an annuity. And here's the thing, it's an annuity, right? So if it's an annuity, where are they getting their money paid from in that case? They're going to get a payout from a very financially top-rated, strong insurance carrier. Well, if they go buy a life settlement, they're the owner of a life insurance policy. Where is that payout coming from? It's coming from another top-rated, financially strong insurance carrier, right? It's not speculative like, hey, why don't we take $30,000 out and go and try to get some oil and gas rights, or let's move into crypto, which we don't understand, or let's go into the speculative real estate deal, right? No, you're owning a life insurance policy. It's very easy. You pay the premiums, and when the person passes, you get paid. You're getting paid from a top-rated, financially strong company, no questions about it, and you know exactly how much money you're getting. You just don't know when. But based on the life expectancy reports and our data, we're able to come with a realistic goal of when that money should hit. Okay. So, how did I do this myself? Really simple. I reviewed my client data, went back and looked at all my clients. I looked for people who had 150,000 plus annuities with me. I looked at their anniversary dates. This is important because if you can find somebody who's got, say, a $200,000 annuity, right? And let's say their anniversary date is September 15th or October 1st, you could pull out 10% right now on that annuity, which would be about 20K. And then right after the anniversary date, take out another 10%. So you can build a good $40,000 for them. And when they have it, we can go shopping. So even if they have a smaller annuity, like 150 and 200, we could do 20% free withdrawals over a timeline to where they build up enough money to where we can go shopping for them. Okay. So that's what you look for. Step one. Step two, here's what I did. I would contact my client base and tell them we need to do an annuity review. You do them all the time. So they're of course going to want to know what's going on. So when you review the annuity, you show them how the annuity is doing right now, and then you explain to them, oh, by the way, I have something for you. Are you aware? Most clients are not even aware they can do a free withdrawal. Are you aware that we could take 10% of this and reposition it for higher earnings, earlier payout? And by the way, you're getting paid from an insurance carrier, just like you are over here. No different. You're getting the same, coming from the same place, same kind of, right? Same kind of company, same financial, strong backed company that you're going to be with. So we're not doing anything crazy. We're just moving some money from Athene or Allianz into buying a John Hancock policy over here. You can do this through calls, text, emails, and voicemail drops. We can help you set that up at no cost, but it has to be people that you know. It has to be a client base. It can't be some cold call list or a call list that you had. It has to be actual people that you know and people that qualify. And I mean that is that we're not going after people who have only $200,000 to their name. They've got to have some wealth, right? I mean, 400, $500,000 if they're going to buy, something like a $50,000 policy with us. Okay. So that's what we do. Matter of fact, we've helped a couple of you who are on this call right now put together a text and email and voicemail drop plan. How does that work? It's very simple. We write up about 5 to 6 different emails with 5 different looks. Then we send out emails to your client base a couple times a week that's set up that goes to your Calendly. We send out a weekly text, right? That hooks up with them to go to your Calendly. And then we do a voicemail drop for you as well, to where if you gave me, say, 200 clients, maybe we're calling 20 a day. If you're not familiar with voicemail drop, what that does is it leaves a voicemail in your name on their voicemail. It does not ring their phone, so you're not bothering them with a call. They just notice that they missed your call and your voicemail's in there. They listen to it, and then if they're interested, they'll call you. We don't want to do all 200 people at the same time. Your phone will get blown up. What we want to do is we want to send maybe 10 or 20 a day. That'll give you 5 people to talk to a day where you're not having to do anything. It's all automated. They're all going to drive to you, right? That's the way this works. Okay. Step three, once they say they want to get the money out, they transfer the funds, which you take care of. If it's non-qualified, you're going to have the client, right, get the check or the funds sent to their house. Then they can go shopping with us. If it's an IRA, we can do an IRA transfer to IRA custodian, which is we use a company called IRA Club. It's a self-directed custodian. If you're not familiar, if you're dealing with alternatives like what we do, or if you're investing in precious metals or real estate, you can use IRA Club to use your IRA to invest. So, yes, people get confused all the time. If somebody did a $50,000 transfer from, let's say, Allianz or even from their Fidelity account, they're not paying taxes on this. It's the same as when you put money into an annuity. It's just a direct transfer. The money gets wired over to IRA Club. It's now sitting in their account there, and now we can use that money to go and purchase a life settlement for them. All right. Final thing is we get them to purchase the policy, whatever we have available. If they like it, they do that. You guys get paid 15% commission on that. You're paid within 48 hours after the policy funds through ACH or wire. And here's what's great. There's no FMO on this. There's no contracting. We're not an insurance carrier, folks. We're not doing that. We are brokers here. We just broker deals. It has nothing to do with what you're doing in the field of insurance or advising. People get confused on that. The reason that I deal with people in your space is because I know you guys are out there every single day meeting people who are looking for ideas for retirement. That's why you're on this call. It has nothing to do with your licensing. There is no licensing needed for this. It is easy and it is fast. Okay. So it's that simple. So to recap, move funds from an annuity because they have low returns, long surrenders. An easy place that you can start is with free withdrawals. There are absolutely no penalties. You want to get them something that has greater diversification, higher returns, and a faster timeline. And in our case, this works great because the payouts come from an insurance carrier when the money is already at an insurance carrier, and it has low risk in the sense that there's no market risk, no market volatility, and you're not speculating on something like oil and gas or real estate. And don't forget this as well. Another place we haven't mentioned here is that if you have a client who absolutely hates their annuity, period, end of story, we can get them out of the entire thing. I'm working on a couple of those right now where we will go ahead and pay their full surrender fee to get them out as long as they invest that money with us to buy life settlements. All right. So that's it here. How to get started with me. You book a meeting on lifeadvisorsolution.com. I put it in the chat. Life Advisor Solution, you go on there. You can't miss it. There's a book a consultation button. You book it, and we will go ahead and discuss all this. We want to review your book of business. What do you have? How many people? Look, if you've got a book of business of 20, 30 people, it's not going to work. Okay. You need to have prospects, people you know, and past clients. Needs to be at least over 100 to really get this working. We're going to go over the marketing strategy with you. And then again, you make your 15% commission, no questions asked. All right. So that is it in a nutshell. Also, if you have other agents that you want to bring on with us, book a time with me. You get a 3% override on all their business, and they will be brought in as well. Okay. Here's where you can reach me on all this, but I also put all of this in my chat. And that's going to do it for